Greetings, Planeswalkers. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Sam. And this is part 5 in our Magic the Gathering Learn to Play video series. And this time, we'll be looking at all the parts of a Magic turn. A Magic turn follows a structure, but once you get the hang of it, it becomes second nature. And then, you can focus on all the strategic ways to destroy your opponent.
Yeah, we're going to jump right into our game in progress in a minute, but first, let's take a quick look at the different parts of a Magic turn. To do that, let's check out the chart.
As you can see, a Magic turn is divided into 5 phases. The beginning phase, the first main phase, the combat phase, the second main phase, and the ending phase. Some of these phases are broken down into steps. Different things happen during each phase, and you can play certain types of cards depending on where in the turn you are. We'll kick things off with the beginning phase. To demonstrate how a turn works, let's take a look at our game.
Right now, it's the start of my turn. The beginning phase has 3 steps. First, I will untap all my tapped permanents, so they're ready to use this turn. Only the player whose turn it is untaps their permanents. Sam will have to wait for his turn. When that's done, we will move to the upkeep. The upkeep step is mentioned on some cards. If something is supposed to happen during this step, the card will say, at the beginning of your upkeep, followed by whatever's supposed to happen. For example, if a Cunning Lethomancer is on the battlefield on my side, each player would have to discard a card at the beginning of my upkeep. This brings us to the draw step, where I draw my card for the turn. That concludes the beginning phase, and we move on to the first main phase. There are 2 main phases in a turn, one before combat and one after. It's my turn, so I can play a land during either of my main phases, but only 1 land per turn. I'll go ahead and play a forest now, so I have access to that mana should I need it during combat.
It's a good plan.
I can also play other spells during my main phase. I think I'll cast a creature now, this Crawlworm, tapping 2 forests and 4 other lands.
It's not my turn, so I can only play instants or activate abilities right now.
That's all I want to do in my first main phase, so let's go to combat.
This is my favorite phase. It's got armies fighting, creatures dying, surprise spells just in the nick of time. Combat's got it all. In fact, the primary way to win in Magic is to attack with creatures driving your opponent's life from 20 to 0. Combat is split up into 5 steps. First, the beginning of combat. Like the upkeep step, nothing specific happens unless a card says otherwise. It's also the last opportunity for anyone to do anything before attackers are declared. For example, if I wanted to destroy one of Dylan's creatures here before they attack, now would be the time to do so.
We'll then move on to declare attackers. It's my turn, so I choose which of my creatures, if any, attack. The Crawlworm can't attack because it has summoning sickness, meaning it just entered the battlefield this turn.
My other 2 creatures can attack though, and that sounds like a good idea to me.
Only untapped creatures can attack. When you declare creatures attacking, tap that creature. Creatures attack as a group. That is, you decide which creatures are going to attack, and they all tap at the same time. Now, let's move on to the 3rd step in combat. Declare blockers. Dylan can't attack my creatures directly. He just declares that they're attacking. And because I'm the defending player, I get to choose if and how my creatures block. Now, only an untapped creature can block, but blocking doesn't tap a creature like attacking does.
Any of my attacking creatures that are unblocked will deal their combat damage directly to Sam, bringing me closer to victory.
My Canyon Minotaur would love to snack on that Elite Vanguard, so it's gonna block there.
All players can cast instants or activate abilities during most steps, and that's about to come in very handy. I will cast Giant Growth, targeting my Elite Vanguard.
I've seen this before. Giant Growth is an instant that gives a creature +3/+3 for the turn.
And now my Elite Vanguard is 5/4, ready to take on your suddenly outmatched Minotaur.
And that brings us to combat damage. The battle happens and all attacking and blocking creatures deal their damage.
My Pillarfield Ox, with a power of 2, was unblocked, so it deals 2 damage directly to Sam.
Yep. Now, my Canyon Minotaur deals 3 damage to the Elite Vanguard, whose toughness is now 4, so the Elite Vanguard survives.
The Elite Vanguard, now with a power of 5, deals 5 damage to the Canyon Minotaur, whose toughness is 3. That's more damage than the Minotaur can handle, so it's destroyed and put into Sam's graveyard.
The Elite Vanguard dealt more damage to the Minotaur than it needed to, but it was still blocked, so none of the damage is going to get to me. My Heroic Minotaur took all of that damage, saving me a little pain.
Damage stays marked on a creature until the end of the turn. If at any point during the turn a creature is dealt damage equal to or more than its toughness, it's headed to the graveyard, even if it didn't all happen at the exact same time.
The final step in combat is called the end of combat, and like the beginning, nothing really happens here unless a card specifically says so, or someone activates an ability or casts a spell. And that will bring us on to the second main phase.
Since it's my turn, I can cast more spells. I could also play a land, but since I already did that my first main phase, I'm going to have to pass here.
And since I have no instants to cast, I'll pass here too. And that'll bring us on to the ending phase.
The ending phase has a couple of steps. The first is called the end step.
And this is another one of those steps that something might not always happen, but cards can say otherwise, and this is also the last chance that either player has to cast an instant or activate an ability.
To finish up the turn, we now go through the cleanup step. First, because it's my turn, I check to see if I have more than 7 cards in my hand. If I do, then I need to choose and discard cards until I only have 7.
Now, only Dylan has to do this because it's his turn. Right now, I can have more than 7 cards in my hand. Not a problem.
Then, 2 things are going to happen at the same time. 1, all damage heals from creatures, and 2, all effects that last until end of turn wear off. So, let's take a second look at that Elite Vanguard. It's still a 5/4 creature, thanks to that giant growth, that was dealt 3 damage during combat. It'll go back to its normal size of 2/1, and all damage will be removed. And the turn is ready to pass. It's now Sam's turn, and we start again with his untap step.
So, I'll untap all my tapped permanents, just my lands in this case, and the game will continue.
The creatures I tapped last turn to attack won't be able to block for me this turn, so knowing when to attack and when to hold back can be key.
And that's a complete turn. This cycle repeats until one of us sees his victory.
Yeah, he means me.
Right. Now remember, if you have any other questions or need some more examples, just go to magicthegathering.com.
And that's it. We've got one more video to go where we're going to talk about building your own decks and getting connected with the Magic community around you.
See you there.